Hello everyone, and welcome to DrakeMakes. So obviously I've been pretty focused on Unreal Engine. What has cultivated most of my attention and interest is its capability for quickly creating epic renders from your imagination. But Unreal Engine is a game engine after all, and the more I learn, this creeping feeling to make some sort of interactive experience gets stronger and stronger as I slowly realize it's not as impossible as I'd previously written off such a task as being. So, I wanted to make a super simple horror game, just to get my feet wet. If I could just figure out a flashlight and some enemy AI to chase the player, I could run with those simple mechanics for a while. But then, I found a horror template project that was temporarily 100% off, and it included a flashlight and the enemy AI that follows you. That's exactly what I needed, which is amazing. And normally this pack's only $2, so if you want to mess around with this, I'll link it in the description. So in order to put all these pieces to use, we need a level. Here's how I made a quick horror-themed Unreal Engine 5 world space. Probably not going to turn into any game I'll actually release. This is more to see how far I can push these simple mechanics and create an atmospheric interactive scene. We'll call it a proof of concept or something. As for today's video, I'm not implementing any enemy AI. What I'm focused on is making a creepy level that complements the use of the flashlight. Immediately, even in the super simple template scene, adding a flashlight just makes things more eerie, so I wanted to follow that feeling with the level design here. This meant adding very few lights and ensuring very dark shadows. The process comes in vague stages. The foundation is made up of various Megascan's 3D assets and materials which I can apply to cubes for the walls. Then I can copy around the different sections of walls and add in details from various other asset packs. Here I'm making another simple emissive material. This is a go-to technique I use in most of my renders. While Lumen's natural systems for light bounce are great, I actually wanted to keep them more under control in this scene, so I placed multiple lights to simulate that bounce effect instead. To make the scene seem more grungy and feel more like it's falling apart, I add in some tundra landscape megascans gathered up at the edges of certain points in the hallways. By clipping them into the ground, I think this really helped to add to the horror feel. I also found some pipes, which I used to add a little bit more details to the corners. To have some of the doors be open, I created a cube stretched roughly to the size of the door, then applying a Boolean modifier to both the cube and the wall so that a doorway is cut. For now, all the doors are static, but as I continue to work, I'm sure I'll figure out how to open and close them in-game. Once I have a foundation built, it's like decorating in any video game with any semblance of customization. I cracked open a bunch of asset packs and began designing the interiors, dragging and rotating assets until I designed something that sort of told a story. So this scene is really dark. I've adjusted the lighting so that the darkness truly goes to black. Because of this, most of the time building the scene had to be spent in unlit mode, because otherwise I would be working in pitch blackness. So working this way has its advantage and disadvantages. It reminds me of working with Source Engine or Bethesda's Creation Kit. Here I'm just adding a bunch of clutter to the desk for added detail. Thanks to Nanite, I can just slap these assets on without thinking too much about how many I'm using. Here I'm selecting everything to try and get reorganized again. For this scene, I once again gathered a bunch of reference within PureRef. I looked at a lot of Portal concept art of the overgrown Aperture Labs from the Portal game series, among other laboratory and old facility type renders. once you have a few pieces built of your scene, it gets faster and faster to add more. For example, here I needed another room, and instead of building it from scratch, I just copied the other one over and adjusted the materials so it's not identical. I'm not too sure why I went with the horror computer lab feeling. Something about entering an old lab to research some sort of anomaly really inspires me, and as I continued to build the scene, more of a story developed in my head. I feel if I continue to develop this, I can do a lot of the storytelling through audio event triggers, and that'll really add to the ambiance. The way I did the trim in this scene was kind of weird. I used very small blocks trying to make it seem more stylized, but it resulted in it kind of just being a pain to copy and paste all the time. As per usual, when I'm making my scene, I spend a lot of time running around through it, and on one hand I feel like I'm wasting time, but on the other this kind of helps me make sure the scene's going in a direction I like. Here I go ahead and use the same block piece from earlier to cut out another room. And here I'm adding a bunch of toolboxes and quickly set up tables, which are to be gathered around a floating orb. This is an attempt at some environmental storytelling, trying to imply people were working on something. I spent a while setting up some power cables to attach to the floating orb, but I ended up scrapping this idea and found some chains on the Megascans market, which looked a lot better. For extra detail, I used the foliage tools, but instead of foliage, I used the Megascans concrete rubble pack and scattered the rubble around the scene. Specifically the tundra acids that are clipping with the ground, as when both of these elements are combined, it really sells the effect I'm going for. And then the engine crashed for some reason. Anyways. I repainted in the rubble, and then the scene was almost done. I just made a few more adjustments using the decals. This is a horror scene, right? Megascans also has a wide selection of blood assets, so I applied those materials to a decal actor and scattered them around the orb anomaly. And once those are all scattered around, the scene is complete. I hope you enjoy this walkthrough. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you next time as I continue to explore the horror game creation process.